It is said that success leaves clues. Let's investigate some successful Indians and try and see what we learn from them. One disclosure before I go ahead. Among these four people, there are from diverse backgrounds. Personally, I don't have to agree or disagree with many of them. And I'm sure many of you may not agree or disagree with most of them. But they are all very successful people in their field today. They are the best among those which are leading, and some of them are called as gods in their space, and they are icons. Who are these four people we are going to talk today? The four I want to talk are brilliant people from their industries. One, I want to investigate a bit, and I will only look at those areas which are of importance to us. These are findings from reading a lot about their background. The first one is Sachin Tendulkar. Sachin, all of us know, we call him the god of cricket. He is legendary. He's broken all records. He was born in a middle class family in Dadar, Bombay. At an early age, like every child, they realized that he had this love for sports and he wanted to play various games. Interesting to know that the one he loved the most at that age was tennis. In fact, his idol was John McEnroe, and he at that age, I believe, was trying to grow his hair long like McEnroe was at that time. His brother Ajit is credited with identifying his special talent for cricket, and he took him to a coach, Coach Achrekar. Achrekar, by the way, was finally honored with the award of Dronacharya by the government, and this legendary in the number of good cricketers that he has developed. Achrekar, when he saw his game, strongly recommended that they should move his school to Sharda Ashram, which is also in Dadar, but which had a lot of focus on cricket and other sports. Ajit listened to him, convinced the parents, and got Sachin moved into Sharda Ashram school. In Sharda Ashram, there was at that time the MRF Pace Foundation, which had set up camp. And interestingly, Sachin wanted to pursue fast bowling as what he wanted to do in cricket. He went to the camp and he was observed by the champion fast bowling legend Thompson at that time, and he watched him bowl and he advised him to not consider bowling as a career, but to focus on his batting where he saw some serious talent. The interesting thing is Sachin listened to all of them, all of these seniors whom he respected, his brother, the bowling coach, and focused on his batting. He honed his skill under Achrekar. He worked with the coach and listened to the coach on all those changes that he was recommending on the technique, and implemented that. Worked extremely hard. Story goes that he had just one pair of cricket outfit, the white dress. He would go practice in the morning, come back, wash it, hang it out for drying in the sun. It would dry in the afternoon, wear the same clothes, go back and play, practice again in the evening. Extreme hard work. While other children were doing other things and doing multiple things, in their free time, his focus was completely cricket. And this continued into his entire career. There are stories about how just to be when he failed a few times, he would sleep in the dressing room itself, and so that he could get up early and again practice the strokes where he was getting out. The story about his getting out to outside the Austen balls in Australia is again legendary. And after being out for a few times, I think it was in the third test, that he decided to ask volunteer fast bowlers from the local teams in Australia to come and bowl at nets to him just outside the off stump. And what did he practice? How to leave those balls, not to touch those balls. And in the next match, he hit a century without touching a ball outside the off stump. So he didn't play any strokes on the outside the off stump ball in that whole innings and made 100. That's the kind of dedication and hard work. If you look at his whole success, some of the ingredients, other than of course talent being there, it's listening to well-meaning seniors who understood the game far better. His brother, Jeff Thompson, Achrekar, putting in hard work, lot of hard work, sacrificing some of the other stuff, being abnormally focused on the game. Failures, taking it as a learning opportunity and doing a lot of work on improving on what made him fail so that he was much better the next time. That's what made him a legend. Shah Rukh Khan. Shah Rukh Khan, again, comes from a middle class family. His father was a restaurateur. He had a lot of restaurants, and one of the restaurants he was having was in an acting theater where they would teach acting and also perform. And obviously Shah Rukh spent a lot of time in that restaurant helping his father, because it gave him an opportunity to look at all these theater actors who came and performed and also taught. And some of the greats he's interacted with there were Rohini Attangadi, Anupam Kher, Raj Babbar. In fact, with Raj Babbar, he has a lot of stories about how a young Shah Rukh was trained on the nuances of acting by Raj Babbar, and how he explained he enacted a scene and the preparation and stuff like that. And Shah Rukh absorbed this like a sponge. His father died early, so they had to move to Bombay because his focus was very clear. From the time he was growing up and he saw those theatre actors, his focus was very clear. He wanted to be a film star, a movie star. That very clear, no confusion there. Went to Bombay, had a little tough life there, but finally he made it to the movies. He credits two things for his confidence when he moved from his first movie. Two things. One, the learnings he got from his seniors in that theatre school. Okay, so he absorbed from the best. The second was his stint with the theatre itself, where his first performances were on theatre. And he says theatre is the toughest media to perform on, because you are live, there are no retakes. It's like life, there are no retakes. And there are about 100 of people watching you, and when you watch back, you can't see all of them. They're all sitting in the dark. So you don't know what they're thinking, what they're doing. It's like a spontaneous action. They're watching you, they're observing, they're judging you. And of course, the reactions are also quite spontaneous. It trains you and makes you the best. So he learned from the tough way, the real way, the ground. So he was super confident when he walked into the movies, and then of course the rest is history. He is a legendary star. He's a superstar of our times. But remember, through all this, he had to put in a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices in those initial days when he was struggling. He was not necessarily the most good-looking man, but so he was being compared. Heroines were looking down on him. There were some people who were willing to take a risk on him. They trusted him, gave him opportunities. He did his best in those opportunities and excelled. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. His was a little different from Shah Rukh from the childhood and as he was growing up. Middle class family, poor family, but the difference lay in Shah Rukh being very, very clear on what he wanted to do. Narendra Modi was confused and unclear about what his purpose in life was. What did he really wanted to do? He wasn't very attracted to many things. The path he chose to get answers was to go and wander around the country. So he just took off and just without destination, he would just get into trains and just go. He says most of his learnings and early understanding came from talking to sadhus in various places like railway stations, in some of those hill towns. He talks about taking this cold bath in this ice cold rivers of the Himalaya because he wanted to see how did the sadhus did it, how did they manage to do it every day. So he went and did it himself, and he did it for a long time, and that also gave him a lot of different kind of perspective about how you manage your body. He lived with common people across India in anonymity. Nobody knew who he was. But he understood life at the grassroots level, about the issues which people had at the grassroots level. So there's a lot of commonality with some of the earlier two personalities that we spoke on how we built his own discipline and learning. And these stood in good stead with him. The learnings that he had and realizing the purpose, his own purpose in his own mind, and then going and doing it and deploying it in his personal and political life. The personality we'll discuss today as the fourth one has been in the news quite a bit nowadays, is the chairman of Infosys, Narayan Murthy. He is, of course, an industry giant here, a legend in India and worldwide. He's built an organization which is respected all over. But his beginnings were as humble as all the other three. He comes from a middle class family in one of the border towns in Karnataka, and grew up with a lot of idealistic leanings towards communism, left. He had a lot of ideas about helping people, but in a certain way. He says in an interview that what really changed him was when he was arrested once in the Yugoslavia border by a communist regime there at that time. And he was expelled from that country. And he says that shook me and moved me from a confused communist to a confident capitalist. And he made up his mind that he would build an organization that would employ a lot of people and where he would try and make everybody a shareholder of this company. Interesting thought, and he was also guided, like Narendra Modi said in his interview that he was guided by the Bhagavad Gita a lot in his thinking and purpose. Narendra Murthy was also guided by the Bhagavad Gita. He says that the most impressive character for him in the Bhagavad Gita was Karna. Why? Because of his generosity. And he wanted to be like him, generous, share wealth with everybody, who can co-create wealth. So if you notice, Infosys, when they formed and they started, he personally kept the least amount of stakes with him. And he kept distributing it to everyone who joined the initial venture. Remember, his wife had put, Sudhamurthy had put most of the initial capital. A meager 10,000 now, but at that time its value must have been quite big. That was Narayan Murthy. And it was not easy sailing always. He started his first company, many people won't know, it was a company called Softronics, which failed. He went back to working for somebody else. He worked in Patni Computers, he worked in many other companies. At some stage, he didn't let go of his dream of building an organization. So he again got together with some friends and built the Infosys, which now is history. His life, if you see, has two striking things in it. One is hard work. His focus on hard work throughout his career till now, and we'll talk about it in a minute. His focus on his dream of building a company, an equitable, employer for all the people who worked in that company. That was his dream. Create more jobs, make sure everybody is party to this company's success. Like I said, his focus single-mindedly on this. In fact, on his wife Sudhamurthy says that it might look very glamorous from outside, the lives of successful people, but being a partner, you realize that this person is never a normal human being. Every successful people has a little bit of abnormality in them, and that abnormality is the abnormal focus on their goal, their dream, and the hard work that is expected to make it happen. There is nothing called family time, there is nothing called work life for them. Okay, and recently in an interview he said that he worked for 70 hours a week, sometimes 90 hours a week. But while it created a lot of controversy about work life and other things, and that he can say all that because he's now big business, big industrialist and stuff. But remember, he did this from the time before he made Infosys. He's been giving that kind of an effort to whatever work he was doing. He's been doing it for over 40 years. So we can have debates on work-life balance and stuff, and which is all good, but if you need to achieve the kind of success which these legends have achieved, all of them, all four of them, you need to give it that kind of effort. So look at your workplace today, at the place where you work, the floor, on your floor, in your company, in your country. Are you outworking everybody else there? Or are you also looking at your timing and going home at 5:30 or 6? Are you looking at all your vacations and how much vacations you have to consume, or are you looking at what you have to achieve? I'm not saying that's the way to be. I'm just saying if you need to achieve the kind of successes these four gentlemen have got, then you need to put in that kind of work. You need to be abnormal. And beware, all of you who are wanting to be partners to such people who are on their way to become legends, that you need to be able to live with that limited time. And like again Sudhamurthy says, you have to become a nanny, mother to their children, a guide sometimes, or just a sounding board sometimes, just to be available. All these. Because those are the roles you play with these people, because they're all obsessed with that dream. So it's important to know that it's glamorous, but this is what it takes. This is the sacrifice it asks you to do. If I had to summarize this whole, the study of these four legends, I would say, while there are some dissimilarities in their, the approach of how they took, but one bottom line is clear. They all put superwoman effort. Once they realized what was their why, what did they want to do, what was the purpose. They put superhuman effort. They spent time earlier to find their why. Some was very clear, like Shah Rukh Khan. But once you know the why, put everything into it. Huge superhuman effort. That's the only way to become this legendary circus. Does not have a shortcut. It has only the highways. Thank you for your time, and I hope this was useful. Have a wonderful week. Stay unstoppable. Let's talk again next time.